And it's done or not is the section, chapter 1 section. And it's done or not. By the time Sarah reaches her early 20s, her brain will be considered fully developed. And yet that doesn't mean it's set in stone.
No.
As you'll soon read, Sarah's brain will still have substantial capacity to grow and change.
Right.
Unfortunately, just as cognicity develops, it can also deteriorate. When she enters her 30s, Sarah's own cognicity might already be showing some subtle signs of decay. Street lamps flickering and flaming out, shutters hanging, loose small potholes forming in the city's oldest roads. As she ages, Sarah may find her city slowly crumbling, losing synapses through the lack of use, allowing her brain's fiber bundles to deteriorate and neurons to die from inadequate blood supply.
Right.
Instead of gleaming metropolis, her cognicity might be a city in blight. On MRIs, such brain aging shows up as a thinning of the cortex, which means in middle age and which begins in middle age and continues into late life.
Right.
While matter fiber bundles and network and connections between brain areas also wither after age 50, primarily due to reduced blood flow. The highly malleable hippocampus, meanwhile, is one of the first areas to shrink and one of the hardest hit. It shrinks at a rate of 0.5% a year after the age of 50, leading to poor short-term memory.
Oh boy.
That's why, as she ages, Sarah may experience subtle memory problems.
Right.
What's subtle? Memory problems, long before she begins to have trouble calculating a tip, for example. When this all happens, and how much it affects a person depends to a large extent on lifestyle choices.
That's right.
Sarah wouldn't be too unusual if she began in her 50s to experience what we call age-associated memory impairment. This means she might book a hair appointment and then forget about it until the hairdresser calls, slightly annoyed. She might blank on the name of an acquaintance or forget the password she set up for an online account.
Right.
Such lapses might bring on acute fears of Alzheimer's disease for Sarah, as it does for many people who have middle-age related cognitive changes.
Right.
As you'll soon read, such problems may be accelerated by lifestyle choices or certain simple medical issues, resulting in a brain fog. Brain fog
Brain fog.
that can be easily treated and reversed. I think you were going through a brain fog.
Very possible.
At this stage, Sarah's cognitive future would be at a bit of a crossroads. Take one path with limited physical activity, untreated health problems, poor diet,
Yes, or diet.
limited physical activity, high stress, and she'd head toward a brain that looked like Mrs. Gray's.
Oh boy.
But if she followed the other path, if she grew her brain, Sarah would likely be headed for a very different direction.
Right.
Now we're heading into your brain late in life. This is another section of chapter 1. As Sarah ages, some amount of the cognitive decline is inevitable. Typically, such decay unfolds in a pattern that looks remarkably like development in the young brain, only in reverse. The parts of the brain that were first to get their full share of myelination and to fully mature are the last to deteriorate. Those that developed last, on the other hand, are the first to go. To understand why and how this happens, we can look at the hippocampus, which is one of the last areas of the brain to develop and myelinate, and actually is one of the only areas of the brain to never fully myelinate.
Right.
It never fully myelinates.
Right.
With little to no myelin insulation, neurons in the hippocampus have to work overtime for decades in order to pass signals to the other parts of the brain. Small wonder, then, that they are the first to wear out and die. This may be the main reason why Sarah will likely experience memory lapses in her 50s and 60s, long before she has difficulty with the sensation of touch or her vision, which are among the first brain areas to develop. Mom, you gonna go on the bicycle pretty soon? We gotta do the bicycle. Let me finish this paragraph. As Sarah enters her 70s and 80s, other parts of her brain will begin to shrink in this last in, first out progression. Eventually, as she reaches or even passes her 90s, the parts of her brain involved in processing speed wither away.
Right.
With enough time, she might
Wither away.
even return to the similar cognitive functioning of a child. With enough time, she'll go back to a child in her 120 years old or something like this. This whole aging process, of course, happens to varying degrees and at varying speeds depending on, in part, on a person's life choices and overall health. There are, as you'll read throughout this book, a host of health and behavioral factors that can speed up or slow down the brain's aging process. Most often there are multiple factors at play: alcohol abuse, traumatic brain injury, excess stress, sleep disorders, vitamin 12 deficiency, obesity, cardiovascular disease, can all destroy the brain's highways and neighborhoods. A lifestyle,
That sounds bad.
well, it's bad and good because what you know what to try to improve. You know how to improve your brain by improving these areas.
Right.
A lifestyle with a focus on brain boosting growth, on the other hand, will help keep the brain young, well into the last decade of life. The next section we're going to head into is studying the brain.